You are the author of your own life. Be strong, be vulnerable, be anything and everything you want to be. Come sit with us, get inspired, learn something new, and have a few laughs. We saved the spot just for you. Hi, welcome to the Pink Table, where we save the spot just for you. We have a very, very special treat for you guys today. We have a very special guest today with us at the Pink Table. It's Ada, and she has a blog online. It's called gypsyinthecity.com. And in honor of having our Gypsy here today, we're going to be having the Gypsy Margarita. You can check out the recipe at thepinktable.tv. And we're going to start our show. Cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
Cheers. So I actually heard about Ada through my sister. You met her through her brother, right?
Yes.
And she showed me her blog, and I was like, oh my God, somebody's actually doing something. Like, watching a Latin girl do something like you're doing on your blog and putting yourself out there and sharing your story and being inspiring to other girls, that kind of really inspired me too. So I did follow her on Instagram, kind of stalked you a little bit.
I stalked her a little bit too. A lot.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, like how you grew up, your background.
Okay, so I started my blog in 2009 because I used to read a lot of blogs, but I just could never identify with any of them, because I felt like even the girls who were Latina would never even say like, oh, I'm Mexican, or I'm this, or I'm that, and it just felt like they weren't proud of it. And then I also didn't see any girls that looked like me. Like, okay, all these girls are a size 2, I'm a size 12, all these girls have straight hair, I have curly hair. So I knew that there was other girls that looked like me, and I wanted to create a space for them too, and which is why I started my blog. And
like a role model to identify with, like, oh, she looks like me, I can be that person.
Exactly. And also people would always ask me about my makeup or my hair or where did I get the clothes I was wearing. So I thought if I created this space where everybody can just go and find out there, then, you know, and inspire some people in some way through that, then that it would be great too.
Were you always into fashion, like from a small age? Was it something that you saw in your mother?
Yes.
How did that all start for you?
I was always into fashion, like, and makeup too. My mom had like this huge Mary Kay kit. When
Mary Kay,
right?
I use Mary Kay.
Selling Mary Kay in the 90s, Mary Kay in the 90s, and she had like this huge kit. And I remember one time, like, I opened it and I would play with it, and then like I was just always like into makeup and then clothes as well. Like, I was always like putting on her heels, and when I was in 4th grade, I used to wear like pencil skirts and high heel, like baby kitten heels to
school.
Yes, like
a business casual.
Like what 4th grader does that? And like I remember one time I walked into the bathroom and the girls like just ran into the stalls, and when they came out, they're like, oh, like we thought you were a teacher because we heard the little heels clicking and we thought it was a teacher coming. It was me. So I've always been very much into fashion and the glamorous life, I guess.
So you grew up here in New York, or you?
I grew up in the city. I was actually born in the Bronx. And when I was young, my mom decided to relocate to Florida to give us a better life, because I come from a big family. It's 6 of us. Like
6 of you?
Yes.
All girls, boys, girls? With
3 girls and 3 boys. The Dominican Brady
even.
Bunch. Yes.
The Dominican Brady Bunch, that's funny.
So yeah, that's what people would say. And my mom was a single mom, so she wanted to give us a better life. So she relocated to Tampa, Florida. So I did pretty much like grow up there. I went to middle school there. I went to high school there. But I was always, you know, coming back here to visit in the summer. So I still felt very connected with New York City. And I knew that I wanted to move back here eventually.
So your mom was a single mom, so you had that example of a strong woman kind of being in charge of her family and providing for you guys on her own.
Yes, like she was a very hard worker. She was always working, so like my older sister would always be taking care of us, but I kind of get my hard working spirit from her because my mom is a very, very hard worker. And independent,
I can imagine. Yes. I mean, with 3 kids, she has to kind of like...
6 girls.
6? Oh my God.
It's fine, we could have used that in the clip.
With 6 kids, I can imagine she had to be like really strong and really like push herself to work.
Yes.
Did she have more than one job? Was it one job?
Oh yeah, she always had like multiple jobs, and even like there was times that so my mom is like used to clean. She's still a cleaning lady, and it's funny because I mean that it's not, I almost think that she likes to do it because she's kind of OCD, always like cleaning in the house, but we would go help her sometimes. Like my mom would take us, because she would like work in the buildings and it would be like at night, so she would take all of us to go help her so that she can finish faster. Yeah, so like you take the first floor floor, you take the second floor. And I'm obviously she wasn't allowed to do that, but you know, like from a young age, I was always working.
So
I had these kids, put them to work.
The benefits of having 6 kids,
right? Like,
make them each take a floor.
Exactly. So we were always like, you know, we're the family. My mom had to provide somehow, so if we could help her, obviously we would.
So how was the transition for you to move from here to Florida? Because those are very different places.
Well, I was very young, so like it was a transition, but the most thing that I can remember was like the culture, because obviously in Florida there's, you know, New York and the Bronx and Uptown Manhattan is very Hispanic dominant, and when I moved to Tampa, I can count on my fingers the amount of Latino kids that were in the classroom, and then on top of that, the other kids were Puerto Rican, which I didn't even know what Puerto Rican was. I just knew that they weren't like me, they weren't Dominican. So even though like they were Hispanic like me and they spoke Spanish, like I still didn't feel like I kind of felt in because I was the only Dominican girl. So that's what I kind of remember from a young age when I moved to Florida.
So you felt a little bit out of place in the culture there, slightly?
Yeah, and everything was so different. I mean, there's like buildings here, and my classroom was like in a portable, which looks like a little house, and I never even seen one of those. So I was like, everything was just so different there.
So what did you do to kind of adjust to your settings? Like, what were little things that you did to kind of make yourself feel more at home or more comfortable? Or did that even happen? Or was it just kind of like as time went on, you got used to everything?
Yeah, I just kind of got used to everything. And obviously, you know, my family's very big, so we were like very close-knit. And then eventually my mom started making friends, and we met other Dominican people. So, you know, there was, you know, I could relate to more people. And then, of course, you eventually just get used to it.
So when did you decide you wanted to come back to New York? You're like, okay, I'm done with Florida. I'm moving back to where I came from.
So when I was 18, I graduated high school, and I wanted to move back to New York then, but I didn't think that at 18 I was capable of moving to a big city, and I was broke. So I definitely
18 and broke.
Yes, I definitely couldn't move back here. So I actually got a 4-year scholarship, and I ended up going to school for fashion merchandising in a school in Miami.
Scholarship like via sports or academics?
Well, I guess mostly everything, because I was involved in sports. My grades were good. I graduated with honors. So I always knew that my mom couldn't afford to go to send us to college. So especially, I mean, not even one of us out of 6. So I always knew that I had to get a scholarship to go to school. So I was always in the guidance counselor's office bothering her about the latest scholarships so that I can go to school. And I did get a 4-year scholarship. So I was very thankful for that.
Something I noticed about you, like you're very driven. So you've always been that way? It's just part of who you are? It's in your nature to be driven?
Yeah, I guess. And that comes from me just wanting to live a better life than I had growing up. And not that my life was bad, because it wasn't like my mom did her best to raise all of us, but I just wanted to live a better life. I saw other people not struggling with little simple things that we would struggle with, and I was like, I want that. So, and I knew that to get there as a Latina from a low-income household, it was going to be through education. So I really pushed myself that way because I saw that as like the key to my future.
I never put that together kind of like you did.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like, oh, you have to go to school, and I would be like, okay. I never put it together that it could be like a key for freedom financially and in life.
And it's sad because there's so many of opportunities and scholarships available for minorities, for Latinos, and people don't know, so people don't apply. So when you do apply, the chance of you getting the scholarship is so high because the pool is so small. And I mean, I used to apply for every scholarship, the tall girl scholarship, like whatever.
The curly hair
scholarship. I didn't care. And even after I got my 4-year scholarship, I applied for more scholarships, and I ended up getting another like $1,000 one right before I went to college. Like, I was not playing with that scholarship money.
You're like, I'm gonna go to school. Yes. It's gonna happen for me.
So there you go. For our viewers, be aware. There are a lot of scholarships out there that will help you get an education. Look for those scholarships.
So then you went to college over there in Florida for merchandising?
Fashion merchandising, yeah. So I saw that you can actually go to school for fashion, which I thought was like amazing because I love fashion and I love business.
Because you wore kitten heels at 4th grade.
Exactly.
Pencil skirts.
Exactly. So I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I can go to school for business and for fashion. This is like amazing. So I went to school in Miami for 1.5 years before I decided that it was time for me to move to New York. And I mean, a lot of other things went into into that decision. Like I had a major breakup with my best friend of 5 years. And I always noticed kind of like a reoccurring pattern in my life that whenever something major happens, like I kind of, not I run away from it, but I seek something new, like a new challenge, a change.
A new life.
Exactly. So for me,
you see it as a new beginning.
Exactly.
Like time for me to begin again.
Exactly. So for me, it was like, well, I always said I wanted to move to New York, and this school is really expensive. And even though I have a scholarship, I'm taking out loans, and I just broke up with my best friend. So I think it's time for me to go on a new adventure.
So what shaped you into the woman that you are today?
Oh my God, so many things. I feel like when you listen to other people's stories that are inspiring, you can't think of any story that doesn't come from struggle. Every single one of their stories has a struggle point. Like nobody has ever said, oh my God, I'm so happy to be at this point in my life because I've been happy all my life. It doesn't happen that way. You know, it always comes from struggle. So I'm very thankful for my struggles, even though at the time I'm like, this is the worst thing that could ever happen. Yeah. And then when you get through it, you're like, wow, that really made me a better person, or I really grew. So my struggles, my mistakes, you learn a lot from your mistakes. You know, my upbringing, you know, and being raised in a single family home, and you know, all of those things.
It makes you realize like what you want. Like you're satisfied with what you have, but it makes you see that you want maybe more for yourself. You want to think outside of the box, do different things that you're not used to, and those things help you grow, as well as your mistakes. Like you were saying, like the more mistakes you make, the wiser you will be. Trust me, because that's how you learn. You fall, you get up, and you know, I'm not gonna step that way anymore. I'm gonna take another round and do something different, and you grow. So that's good. How about any influential people, any specific people that or person that you looked up to and you were like, that person influences me?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, when I was growing up, I had one of my best friends when I was like 13. We used to go to church together, and I actually ended up living with her for about a year and a half because I had like some family issues, and her parents were so inspirational to me and had a really big impact on my life. And I still talk to them, and I love them, and I appreciate them so much because her parents were like, they came also from, you know, a difficult situation, and they made something out of themselves. So they were like the first people that I could honestly see, like knew personally, that they came from struggle and they made it. So it's different when you see on TV like a celebrity that came from struggle and they made it, but it's totally different when you know somebody personally.
And you see it happen.
Exactly, because to you it's a sign that you can also get there too. So, you know, my best friend's dad was a lawyer. Her mom, you know, was also like, you know, trying to make it, and they were just so inspiring to me. And I will never forget when they like sat me down and they were like, you don't have to be kind of like a victim, or like you don't have to live the same life that you come from. You can change that. You have the power to decide your future and change your destiny. So they were like a huge inspiration in my life, and like I said, I will always be thankful to them for everything that they did for me.
You hear that, guys? You have the power to change your future. It's in your hands. So you moved to New York, and where did Gypsy come from?
So I moved from Tampa to Miami, then I moved here, and often I would go.
So that's where it comes from moving.
Exactly, from moving to all those places. And not even that, when I lived in Tampa, I went to 3 different high schools. I was always like, my life was kind of always very unstable, and at the time I thought it was a bad thing, but then I actually learned to appreciate it because it made me more of an outgoing person, because I used to be very shy. It made me open up more and become like the social butterfly that I am, because you know, I had to talk to somebody if I didn't want to.
You had to make friends everywhere you went, so you were kind of put in that situation.
Exactly. So the Gypsy name really came about when I went to visit my mom in Florida after I had moved to New York, and I ran into somebody that I went to like high school with at like Walmart or something, and you know, we were just like catching up, and they're like, oh, so what are you up to now? And I'm like, oh, I actually moved to New York, and they're like, what? Like, weren't you just living in Miami? And what is this that you moved to New York? And I'm like, yeah, I live in New York now. And they're like, you're such a gypsy. And then, yeah, when I came back home, it just kind of stayed with me. And at the time I had my blog, but it was actually called Labels and Love, because I started my blog right before I moved to New York. And I thought that when I was moving to New York, I was going to come find labels and love. Like, so Carrie Bradshaw. Yeah. And that was when the movie came out. So I was all like, oh, labels and love. I'm going to work hard and I'm going to have all
Sex
these.
in the City.
Yeah, I'm going to have all these nice things and I'm going to have love. So when I came back, that Gypsy name really stuck with me. And there was actually another blog in the UK that was named Labels and Love. So I thought if I really wanted to brand myself, I kind of had to change the name. So that's how Gypsy in the City was born.
Were you the only one in your family that actually went to college, or did your brothers and sisters follow suit?
No, I just graduated from college in May, this past May, and I'm a first generation graduate. So
little applause.
Thank you. That meant a lot to me because, like I said, I knew from an early age that education was kind of like the key to me making it. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, even though I also went to 3 different colleges and I had to take a year off of school, and it took me a lot longer than most normal people to graduate, the fact that I did it and I was the first person in my family, like, that is something that, like, your education is something that nobody could ever take away from you. So the fact that, you know, my education means everything to me. To some people, it's just a piece of paper, but to me, it's like a key to a whole new world. And now my nieces and nephew can say, I want to go to college because my tia went to college. Mm-hmm. So it's just something that it's like one of the most proudest achievements of my life.
It seems like your personality is kind of like a trailblazer type of person. Like, you seem very driven and like you want to just kind of show people to be positive and do positive things with your life, I guess, based on your...
Yes, because I always say, like, through the years, I've learned to see that even the bad thing that happens to you, there's always something positive that comes out of it if you choose to think of it in that way. And it really is. So it's like, why dwell on the negativity when, you know, there's something beautiful about even that bad experience. And I'm just a big believer in positivity, and it's gotten me this far. So obviously it works, you know, and I'm just like, I've always been like that. Like, I remember I have a letter that I wrote to myself when I was 15, that it was like a declaration, like, you're gonna go to college. Like I was holding myself accountable for all these things. Like, you're gonna go to college, you're gonna become a successful woman that people would admire, look up to, be inspired by. Like, and I wrote this letter to myself at 15, and I found it the other day, and I'm like, this is crazy that I wrote that to myself at 15, you know?
So what would you say to your 15-year-old self now?
Oh my
What would
God.
this Ada tell that Ada?
I guess just like not to worry, that everything is gonna work out fine, because sometimes you like get so caught on like, okay, how do I get from point A to point B? Because it's so like beyond you. Yeah, that you're like, how am I gonna make it happen? But it's like, don't worry about how you're gonna get there. Just take baby steps, because eventually everything is gonna fall into place. And before you know it, you're gonna get to point B and be like, oh my God, you know? So
like, I did it.
I really like that you said, you know, hold yourself accountable for your decisions. And that's really important. Take responsibility for the decisions you make, the steps that you take. And also, like she said, to get from point A to point B, yes, it might look like a long road, but like she said, take those baby steps. One little thing at a time, eventually you'll build up to get to point B. So it's always important. Those baby steps, they count.
Yes, and you have to celebrate the baby steps, because yes, a lot of times, and I'm sure you guys can say more about that, you know, a lot of times you don't like, oh, well, it wasn't a big deal, so it doesn't matter. Yes, it does matter, because it's getting you closer to the end point, you know?
But I guess when you're in it, it's hard to realize, especially like if you're like me, like I am very independent and I am trying to do something different. So sometimes I'm harder on myself than I am more like easy on myself. Like, I don't really allow myself to celebrate.
You're your own biggest critic.
Yeah, I criticize myself harder because I feel like, you know, I need to, you know, I want to put people on a positive road, and I want to show that you can do this and, you know, overcome your issues. So I tend to be a little hard on myself.
But then if you sit down and you write everything you've done, you're like, oh my God, I need to be more proud, because I've done a lot, and you should be proud, you know?
Yeah. But I guess it's easier, like, when you hear it from someone else, it's like, oh my God, but really it should come from within your own self.
Exactly.
Yes.
And not like looking for confirmation from the outside world.
That's also really important.
Preach.
Don't look outside. Don't look
Preach
to outside sources for confirmation
Yeah.
of the great person you are, of your talents. It could be you just by yourself doodling little stick figures. If you think those stick figures look like Van Gogh's painting, that's what it is. It's
Right.
what you believe. It's what you think. Put yourself out there, brand yourself, and believe in yourself.
And you need to be your own biggest cheerleader. It's
Cheer
basically what,
yourself on.
cheer yourself on and be like, I can do this. I can do this. I love me. I love me. I said, you know, you can write that. I write that on paper now. I love me. I love me. Because that's very important. Self-love is important when you're trying to overcome, you know, your childhood or whatever it is that you're going through. Self-love and being positive to yourself.
Yeah, because there's going to be those days where you just feel like you're a failure and that life is never going to get better, but it's just one day. Like, don't let one bad day like determine your whole life. It's just one bad day, you know. It doesn't mean that your whole life is going to be bad. So like you said, you need to remind yourself of the good person that you are, the amazing, talented, beautiful, bella person that you are.
Exactly.
So that you can keep going, because life shit is hard.
Yeah,
it's
it
true.
Shit is hard. So any advice that you have for all the Latina viewers that we have, or women in general, just that you feel like something maybe that you wish someone had told you and you kind of want to put it out there?
I would have to say the number one thing is success is attainable. It doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm a big believer in, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. You know, you need to,
I like that.
you know, have a vision. And if it doesn't scare you, then you need to think bigger, because you're going to get to that point. Then you have to keep thinking bigger and bigger. So definitely, you know, that, and success is attainable, and just, you know, whatever you have to do to keep reminding yourself of that person that you are, so that you can keep pushing through those hard days. Do it, because like I said, shit is hard, and you're gonna have, you need that little push, and it might not come externally from people, because they might not be there for you all the time to be your little cheerleader, but
or understand what you're doing.
Exactly. But like you said, you need to be your own cheerleader, because at the end of the day, nobody loves you how you love you.
Amen, sister. I like that.
You gotta love yourself how Kanye loves himself.
Exactly.
I love Kanye.
So there you go, guys. That was lessons from a gypsy. Be positive. You can do it. Believe in yourself. Be your own cheerleader. Success is attainable. That's a hard word for me to say. You can do it. Look for those scholarships. Keep on believing on yourself. And we'll see you here next time at the pink table. Besos.